Bombay.
Talokan.
Bombay.
Talokan.
Wakanda Forever.
No more forever.
Legally distinct Atlantis. I can guarantee you this podcast will be shorter than the movie.
We are already underwater with this one. Welcome to Shallow Cinema. I am Nemo. A very fitting name this time around, huh?
And I am Black Jack Bauer, but no Panther here. And all of this, if you can't tell, none of this is scripted. We are definitely just ripping.
That's pretty good, though. I like that one.
But we are going to dive right in so we can get to the meat of this story here. We're going to start off with a little bit of news.
Yeah. This weekend, Black Panther was the #1 movie. Right off the gate.
So do you already have some numbers? Because all I got was what they made on Friday, which was 80.
As soon as we started recording this podcast, they did release it. It is the 13th biggest opening of all time, and it was $180 million.
So I can
It's the second biggest opening of the year.
Because I did look up, the original cleared $200 million on its opening weekend.
I wonder why.
As we discussed, I've got my viewpoints, and that will come up.
That's kind of like the big pressing news right out the gate with this one for with being themed around Black Panther.
And probably Marvel's biggest win since Endgame, I would imagine.
It's
because Spider-Man again is a split.
Yeah, Spider-Man is Sony as well, because like that is the big thing. With that being said, is like you can't really count it because it absolutely was. That's probably the biggest of the year, I believe. Is what that source was referring to. I don't think there's been anything else bigger than Spider-Man this year.
But with the news, we'll start off with some trailer stuff. Main thing, I'll set Nemo up here. John Wick 4 trailer 2 officially launched. And before he goes into that, that also launched amidst the news of The Ballerina, which is a spin-off movie, which he won't know anything about because he doesn't know anything about John Wick.
Never watched it.
With Ana de Armas, who is from Knives Out and had a small role in the last James Bond movie.
Oh, okay.
And also just recently was in Netflix's Blonde. That is moving forward, as well as The Continental, which is a prequel series that'll take place at the hotel of the John Wick universe. That was confirmed that it's going to be on Peacock here in the U.S. and Amazon everywhere else. Now, I did not watch this trailer because I love John Wick and I simply don't need to be spoiled.
This is a thing that sucks about actually seeing movies in theaters is you get to see these trailers completely against your consent. So even if I cared about this movie, I would be like, well, damn it, just shut my eyes, close my ears. Like,
this is next year's big ticket item. Like, I want a consent slip before walking to the theater. What trailers are you going to show me? I don't agree to this.
I don't want
Nicole Kidman tell me how awesome AMC theaters are. I get it.
So for this,
so you've never seen a John Wick?
No, and you tell me that there's a prequel and a sequel spinoff kind of deal. I'm like, how the hell does this revolve around killing a puppy? Because that's the only thing I know about John Wick.
There is a small joke in the third one where someone points out all of this is over a puppy.
Yeah. I did watch this trailer half-heartedly. I was finding my seat and sitting down and all that nonsense. I forgot that Keanu Reeves is kind of a weird guy sometimes. He's a great person and stuff, but I forget that his acting is strange. And he has a line in the trailer where he's just like, how are we going to do this? And I was like, what? And the guy who, he's a Japanese
Donnie Yen
actor, I think so. He's in the trailer, and I'm like, anytime he's on screen for anything, I'm like, kind of just want to watch you do your thing. And that looked cool. It certainly looked cool, and it was blue and purple. It was a bisexual mood lighting. I'm sure people got some good pictures in the audience doing some selfies with the lighting of the trailer.
I have seen the teaser trailer for John Wick 4, so I'm sure most of that was probably in this longer trailer. But yeah, I mean, they are, at this point, they're kind of almost excuses for exceptional stunt work and showing off good camera work.
I will say that was the kind of the impressive thing about the trailer, that because not having any reference, I was like, some of these camera angles are pretty sick. I can see why people like these.
I won't even go into it because we'll do a whole John Wick deep dive
Great.
before 4 comes out. But I think also the Avatar 2 second trailer.
Yes, this is the point where I want to tell you that I lied to you. I did not see Black Panther on Saturday. I saw it on Thursday night. I went and saw it at 11 o'clock at night.
Well, you were up late.
And there were so many people in the theater. So that's why I wanted to reveal this on the podcast, that the opening night was pretty lit for a fucking Thursday. I saw it at Escape.
So what did the Avatar?
It did play.
The new trailer play?
So I actually wrote down the list of what trailers played. It was John Wick 4 first, then the D&D movie, which...
You know what? I've seen the trailer for that once. To be honest, it doesn't look that bad.
It doesn't look bad. I mean, I don't really have love or hate for D&D because to me the movies are just campaigns, so they suck depending on who the DM is.
To be honest, like the movie should be the easiest thing of like all you have to do is like just use the bestiary and like keep those names accurate. Otherwise, write whatever story you want.
That's what the original movie was, so I was like, whatever.
But also production value.
That too. It did look good. I will give it that.
Yes, it does.
Babylon is the second trailer, and it had Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt, and it also had Tobey Maguire looking like a skeleton. It's kind of scary looking. I have no idea what the trailer was. It was so fast that I actually missed the name of the trailer before it ended. No idea what that one's about. Then next, the Ant-Man 3.
Could be a good horror movie.
Maybe it could be. We got Ant-Man 3 trailer again.
I mean, should be expected with this.
Yeah, and then the Avatar 2 trailer, which was the new trailer for Avatar. And
did you avert your eyes or did you watch it?
no, I watched it.
Did it give you something new? Did it give us context of what's going on?
It was a really good prelude to what I was about to see in the movie I was watching.
We'll get to that.
And then the other trailer news that I have is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, another DreamWorks movie. It's been a while since I've done a Shrek universe thing, and it has a unique look to it. It's got a different type of frame rate and a 3D art style that looks like a painting. Maybe it could be a good change in DreamWorks Animation Studios because they haven't really been doing a lot since How to Train Your Dragon ended.
Kind of taking a note from Into the Spider-Verse from Sony.
It definitely could feel like that. And but that's all the trailer news I have.
It's actually, I mean, kudos to them, I guess, for that. But also, it's like, well, that'll be kind of jarring that this one won't aesthetically match with the rest of. Although I don't give a fuck about the trailer.
Yeah,
you know what? I don't even care. Just to kind of tie in with something you had mentioned last week, one of your favorite, I believe, Lovecraft stories, at the Mountains of Madness.
Yes.
Guillermo del Toro shared a CGI test that was done for an unmade at the Mountains of Madness film from early 2006. Would have been rated R and had Tom Cruise and James Cameron connected producing. Ultimately passed on by every major studio, so just went away.
That blows.
But he did recently get 2 Lovecraft stories kind of created for his Cabinet of Curiosities, neither of which are at the Mountains of Madness. But yeah, I didn't get to see the extra footage, but I did see it described. It's only like 30 seconds, and that's
cool.
The Lovecraftian monster with tentacles, and it eats a person in the frozen tundra.
That's cool. I actually really appreciate it. I'm going to look that up after this.
I know he wasn't yet the name that he is now, but like it's almost astonishing. It's like, really? You wouldn't let him just...
Well, also touching Lovecraft stuff at that time too was a little weird.
I guess so. I guess, yeah, you're right. This is to set you up, we recently had Godzilla Day.
Yes, and on Goji Day, Toho announced that a new film is going to be made. The working title right now is Godzilla Zero, and it's going to be directed by Takashi Yamazaki. The projected release date is November 3rd of next year.
Godzilla Day.
And as of right now, the plot details is that it's going to take place immediately post World War II in Japan, which is it's going to be a period piece.
Taken from the title, are they kind of taken back and doing a reboot?
Well, with the way Godzilla works too, most of the time that's always kind of like the deal. So this will be a new Godzilla. Pretty much every single Godzilla movie is a sequel to Gojira. Basically every single one is, even the American ones.
And they also showed off the new Godzilla logo.
Yeah, that one is a bit confusing because that could just be a new company logo. It might not be the movie logo.
I saw where people were confused by it and just like, well, it's a brushstroke G. Like, I get it.
Yeah. Which for the most recent, the Legendary Godzilla, their original logo for the film was brushstrokes with Godzilla spelled out in kanji was the logo. So kind of a nice callback to that as well, because it's like Toho likes to recall stuff that other people have messed with.
And this is going to be kind of its own separate whole thing, right? So Shin Godzilla is just done and wrapped up. And I know occasionally they've well, not occasionally, really just Zilla from 1996 or whatever that movie was.
1998.
They brought him over to kill it so they could be like, this is not Godzilla. But
it was
do you
also
think
a
Legendary is talking to Toho of like, hey, is there a way that we can cross our universes together? Because the Monsterverse is still a thing.
Yeah, the Apple show will release next year, based on Monarch, and that's the thing is I feel like as far as their crossover goes, they don't really have to.
No, they don't have to.
And I don't think they even
in
need
this
to.
age, that's what all studios are like. It's all about franchise. It's all about a universe.
They could. I could see a new remake of Final Wars, which is where 98 Godzilla appeared.
And clearly Legendary's broken away from Warner Brothers.
Right.
So I don't know what the relationship is like with Toho. I assume good.
It has to be, because I mean they recognize the Muto from the first film as Toho monsters now.
Ah.
So they have their own like logos and stuff.
Way to go, America. You finally got one in there.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what goes on with that. I love Godzilla, and I'm just happy to see it. I'm just hoping that it's not another animated movie.
I think what I gather is live action.
Right? That's what I gathered too.
In other prequel news, Jason is getting a prequel series.
Okay.
Camp Crystal Lake. It's coming from A24.
Okay.
And Brian Fuller, who most recently did the Hannibal series.
Oh, what? This might actually be good.
So yeah, because originally I'm just like, well, that's dumb. This is a dumb idea.
It's a stupid idea.
Hearing he's attached, I'm like, oh. Because I'll also admit, when Hannibal was first announced, it's like, how the fuck are you going to do? First of all, what story are you going to tell with Hannibal Lecter?
And it was good.
And also on network TV. And then it was like, oh, holy shit, I guess. Who could have guessed this? So
that is really interesting.
Very interested in this. And he has also confirmed, if you don't know, there's been a huge legal battle for the last, I don't know, 4
it's been a while
or so years with Friday the 13th and Jason about who owns what and who really owns it. Which if you're a Friday the 13th fan, you do know this because the game that came out, the only reason it stopped updating was they legally couldn't keep putting anything out of it.
They couldn't come to an agreement.
They had to back away. I guess to some degree that has been worked out because Brian Fuller has confirmed he's able to use everything from hell to space. He also stated, he's like, I'm not saying we're going to space, but if this goes for 10 seasons, you better believe I'm taking Jason to space.
That's clever. I love that. Actually, that's you know what? I'm down with it. I don't care about slasher movies. I've only seen the first Friday the 13th ever.
So you've never even seen one with Jason in it?
Nope.
I mean, I guess he technically is in there a little bit at the end.
So it's also I've seen clips and stuff, of course, over the years. But yeah, I'll say I am.
I imagine like every human being on Earth, when you see a certain hockey mask, you're just like, well, that's ominous.
Yeah. To add into some of those types of news, Sandman was officially confirmed for season 2.
I saw that.
So it's nice for them. And also a callback to our last news segment. Dragon Age Absolution is a short movie that's coming to Netflix December 9th.
I thought I saw that and I was like, maybe did I know about this before I mentioned that last week?
Yeah, we mentioned it as like I was talking about, more dragon content. And yes, there's that. And Disney also confirmed they're working on Aragon with Christopher Paolini actually writing on the show.
Now, that was a fantasy novel that was very poorly adapted.
Absolutely.
Only did one movie, I believe, correct?
Yeah, they killed off the main villains that they don't die until the beginning of like the 3rd book.
We'll see what Disney. I guess having him write it, like, okay.
Yeah, and so I'm cool with that. Also, with that, Dune 2, November 2nd, 2023.
All right.
They just that's all they announced. They just
that's all they need
the picture.
Hey, you know that movie you saw half of? We're going to finish it next year.
Yeah, we're actually going to finish it. And also to add to the last time, apparently Henry Cavill had already been feeling weird about The Witcher because they were having creative differences since season 2. So now it's kind of seemed like maybe the season 4, they're going in a direction that he does not appreciate.
All right, you know what? I trust him.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned before, Liam's going to have a hard road regardless. I, as a fan of the show, is going to have a hard road of no matter how good you are, you're not Henry, and I know you're not Henry, and that's
With
who my Geralt is.
And we talked about how much he really is appreciative of those games and how into it he is. So that's really fascinating to me because it's like, oh, if they're making these decisions, he doesn't want to be the guy in the suit when they ruin.
And I know there were
character.
some plot lines or stories they were doing in season 2 where he was like, no, that's not how this would go. We do this.
That's where it started.
And he kind of, I guess, pushed and made them adjust. And I haven't read the books. I know other people are angry that like there's stuff they're changing from the books. So it sounds like the show is wanting to lean into their own thing, I guess.
Yep.
Which, that's a bummer.
Yep. It is a bummer, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? Good on you. I respect that. Other movie announcement, which is sickening. I hope it's a joke. It feels like a joke. But the Hercules live action remake from Disney.
That's not a joke.
I mean, that is probably my favorite Disney movie.
Did you think it was safe from this?
No, but it's what the director said, which it's Joe and Anthony Russo. And they said this remake is going to be a bit more experimental in its tone and execution when compared to other Disney live action adaptations. The general audience now has been programmed to enjoy TikToks, so they want to make it TikTok inspired.
I don't understand I don't understand TikTok, so I don't understand what that means.
Same.
Only I can pictures like, so you're going to just like film scenes in like 15-second clips?
Yeah. No, it's instead of like the part of the movie where it's like he's in the underworld and it starts showing Hades, it's just gonna be like, oh no.
Do you think that they're going to modernize Hercules?
I have no fucking clue because I mean the Hercules movie is a parody, so there's a lot of modern commentary in the movie, like Air Jordans and McDonald's. So it's like,
I mean, and I like Anthony and Joe Russo, not just from their Marvel stuff, but from their days on Community. Like they can handle comedy and
that's
action.
what makes me feel that they're lying, that they're just fucking with people because it's like they think it would be funny.
But see, I don't see them being that kind of humorous. Like Phil Miller, like Lord and Miller, the guys who brought you Spider-Verse and 21 Jump Street and all that. Them, I could see making like doing this thing, but like with the Russos, I don't. But
yeah, that's the one that's like, okay, whatever, I don't care. A couple of other final things that I have here is Zaslav said, we need to have a real focus on franchises. We haven't had a Superman movie in 13 years, and we haven't had a Harry Potter movie in 15 years. So his intention...
Fantastic Beast.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess those don't count because Harry Potter's not in them.
And because they don't do as well.
Yeah,
and
so...
people don't like what they've done.
But he was talking about with the changes and stuff recently. It's like Marvel has this entire like universe. Well, we have Batman and we have Harry Potter. I think that we have a really strong hand.
They have more than that, but
which they, speaking of Batman, they just lost their Batman.
Oh, Robert Pattinson, Pattinson's out.
Oh no, the death that happened unfortunately yesterday.
Oh yes, Kevin Conroy, the voice,
the voice Batman. Of Batman
from the animated series to a lot of the animated movies as well, and also
all of them. Like you go through like all this stuff. He's like on everything. Video games.
Yeah, so the Arkham games. They also made an effort to have it be Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill as the Joker.
So it's like this. I feel like this is just as sad and just like very hard because it's you're essentially lost to Adam West again. It's like they're the two Batman. There always will be. And
Michael Keaton's still here for a little while.
Come on, Michael Keaton. I don't know.
Well, his impact may not be as great as those two.
I think he might have a little bit to do with Spider-Man.
He is equally, I would say, of a trinity of Batman. He is.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you.
And he's also actually Kevin Conroy's Batman owes it to Michael Keaton's Batman.
Yeah, because that's about the time that the animated series started up, right?
Yes, the animated series started after Michael Keaton's Batman, and it is taking the visual cues from that.
What, George Clooney doesn't count in this list?
No. I don't think he counts himself.
Episode 22.
But with that, also, DC has announced, or Warner Brothers Discovery, however you want to look at it, James Gunn is now co-CEO of DC on film.
Jesus Christ.
With Peter Seraphine. I don't know who he is, but great. And they both recently, they made the announcements. They also confirmed they are working on an 8 to 10 year plan, which Zaslav already said he had a 10-year plan, so clearly he didn't.
He was blowing smoke over us.
They are currently in like a think tank with a bunch of different writers and stuff right now, but they are planning this across all mediums so that the DC universe, from the upcoming Suicide Squad video game to the TV shows to the animated movies, they're all going to be in the same universe and telling a overarching story.
That is exhausting.
It is. I mean, it's impressive that you think you can pull this off.
I do hate that. I don't like it. Being a fan of Warcraft, it's hard enough to read books and play a game.
Hopefully they'll do in a way where it's like, oh, are you not a game player? Well, don't worry. Like, you won't have missed much. Maybe the games will just kind of be like, oh, did you know the movies? Well, hey, look, there's a little reference to that. Like, this is here. And
you watch Markiplier play it, I'm sure.
And maybe some of their costume designs and characteristics will be the same. Again, early days.
Very strange.
Also, let's not forget, DC and Warner Brothers 10 years ago announced we're making a Black Adam movie.
Yeah.
Making a Green Lantern Corps movie. Cyborg is going to get a movie.
Where are those?
None of that happened. So this is all early talk. And again, I do trust James Gunn. I also trust in regards of he will kind of stand up to Zaslav. Like, I don't feel like he would have taken this job if he didn't think he would have
if he could have that power
enough
play.
Control.
I will say, though, in doing this kind of a thing, the idea of making comic books of comic books sickens me.
The DC cinematic universe, the comic book, the movie, the video game.
Oh my God. Stop.
And Zaslav, I guess it was Zaslav, Warner Brothers also confirmed we are getting 4 DC movies next year with Aquaman, Flashpoint, Shazam, and the previously HBO Max exclusive Blue Beetle.
Okay.
Now coming to theaters because, again, Zaslav is not about putting experiences on HBO Max. It's about going to the theater.
Good.
Kudos for that. That is going to be
that's something I can actually agree with him on.
It's going to be a Latin-led film.
All right.
I don't know tons about Blue Beetle, but it's essentially he's going to be kind of like their Iron Man in regards of an alien tech suit.
This is one of those ones that my entire thought process, I was thinking of The Tick. So I was already like, oh, great, another comedy.
Well, he is kind of fun and quippy. So, we'll see what the tone is going to be. But yeah.
My final major news here is Netflix has introduced that they're doing an ad-based tier for the cheaper price as they raise prices on your regular ones. They're doing the HBO route or as well as the Hulu route.
The everybody route.
But the only difference is the Netflix one. It's like Netflix just can't make a good decision ever. So with their ad-supported tier, some shows will be locked. You won't be able to watch it with the ads. And the list that they have right now is The Crown, Cobra Kai, Arrested Development,
Stranger Things,
Breaking Bad, not Stranger Things, The Good Place, Grey's Anatomy, House of Cards, How to Get Away with Murder, New Girl, and Peaky Blinders.
So I think only one of those is like a Netflix exclusive thing.
I'm pretty sure Cobra Kai, yeah.
Cobra Kai they bought from YouTube.
And Arrested Development, I think, turned into a Netflix production.
The last 2 seasons are, yes.
But the rest, yes, they're not. Well, House of Cards, sorry.
And Peaky Blinders, I think they co-do with the BBC. But it's interesting that a lot of those are like clearly ones they have licenses for. But you know what? Netflix is doing, it's being after looking at like Peacock and I assume Paramount Plus. I've never seen it not paid for. My mom has a free subscription, so.
There you go.
But Peacock, they have that like, you have ads and then there's stuff that's straight up blocked even with ads. Like, you cannot watch this.
It makes sense to me, but the other thing also with that
the thing is Peacock also costs $10 if you want to buy it,
right?
Versus Netflix is more expensive, and you're losing content or more and more in the content that they create. now has a fear of like, but are you going to finish the story? Like,
Right.
is it worth me investing? Because you may just like close
Drop
this
it.
out.
Yeah, that's what's so weird to me is like I understand where they're coming from, but the idea that they're all shows that they've announced they're locking in, not movies, is strange to me because it's like, you know, even like on Amazon Prime, it's like, oh yeah, it's you can rent it. We don't actually have it ready for you, like, but you know, $2. But where at the show, it's like,
Just
okay,
wait. I'm sure Netflix is working on a way for you to rent movies digitally from them that they're not streaming anymore.
fuck off Netflix.
I mean, they still do the DVD thing, so why wouldn't they add that in there?
That's still surprising to me. But that's my final bit of news. Actually, I would like to introduce one more small segment.
No.
Something I had talked about. And that is a lot of these movies, especially superhero movies, but not just listed to them, can have really weird food tie-ins. And
One the Happy Meal thing.
it sure is. Got it right here.
Oh shit, he does have the Wakanda Happy Meal.
Wakanda Forever.
Is that what it's called?
I know, I made that up.
Oh.
You can McDonald's, you know, pay me.
You can send us a check.
So here we go. You have it's a purple box with a smiley face. Looks like armor. Apparently, the new toys have an app where you can scan it and put the toy on top of your phone and it does something, which I'm not about to do. And it features 3 of the characters on the side of the box. I just thought it was really weird because this movie has a very serious element to it that this feels so cheap and so wrong.
It also, of all the Marvel movies, this is one where I'm like, I don't know that a kid would enjoy this. One, because it's very long.
Yeah.
And 2, there's not a lot of action, which I was fine with.
I also, with food elements, I got an ad yesterday for Goldfish where they have Wakanda themed goldfish crackers and it has the Black Panther mask and they did the ad with the goldfish as the necklace. And I was like, that feels disrespectful.
But on the note, I can say, you know, this, like the Happy Meal and the goldfish thing, some of it maybe isn't necessarily about tying into the movie. Yes, it's because of the movie, and they do want to advertise the movie, but maybe the kid's not going to go to the movie, but they still want Black Panther to be a thing for the kids. I can see that.
But it's still like, it's especially the way it's being presented and stuff as well. It just feels slightly off-putting.
It's transparent commercialism.
Yeah. That being said, you know, kids are free to enjoy whatever they want. Keep dressing up as Black Panther, whatever you want to do. It's fine. And, you know, if you want your Happy Meal toy, get your Happy Meal toy. And, but I just thought it was, especially with the box, it feels like they're going for something collector-y.
I agree. I mean, it's a kind of neatish design.
Yeah, I'll post it on our Twitter. Once you pop it open and see what kind of toy we got, I didn't look.
Yeah, let's see here. I haven't had a Happy Meal. Haven't been happy in so long. Oh, we got Ironheart.
Oh, great. Put it back in the box.
Kind of very cheap looking iron. I mean, I guess it's happened.
Yeah, they've. I know that sometimes I'll order a Happy Meal if I'm just like I want a snack and I'm just running late or something. And I got one from Encanto last year, and it was just paper. It was literally like paper, and I was like,
use your imagination and make.
Like it was like a scene, and you like drag like a little tab on the back and make them dance. And I was like,
it's kind of like what did Nintendo do a couple of years ago? Like Labo.
Yeah,
here's some cardboard.
Yeah, Labo. Yeah,
have fun with it.
That's. I mean, you know, McDonald's toys are cheap. They always have been, but this one feels incredibly cheap. But yeah, I wanted to just bring up some of the weird stuff because I feel like as we go into it, we can talk more and more about like odd choices with food tie-ins. There's one, especially a really good one for the first Captain America movie that I think is hilarious.
Was there like a Love and Thunder burger somewhere?
McDonald's also had Thor Love and Thunder as their Happy Meals, and I'm pretty sure it's the exact same type of shit.
McDonald's is the official MCU sponsor.
I think they are now. They weren't back then because it used to be Burger King.
Oh, true.
And but that's the one thing that I wanted to bring up with this is just how bizarre it is. But yeah, because I mean, Thor and Love and Thunder makes sense. You know,
it's goofy,
colorful kid stuff, and even I think the box art was literally just a drawing of Jane and Thor in their armor, like shooting lightning out of their axes and hammers. Where this one is just like it literally looks like it should be a painting or something that's like hanging up at the McDonald's. With that, yeah, let's go ahead and get into this movie, this extremely long movie.
So we're not going to do like a full plot breakdown. Also, spoilers ahoy.
Yeah.
We're not going to hold back.
I mean, even the movie itself starts off as the spoiler. Like, it's what people were
I will praise
most
that
anxious for.
It starts off in what I think is probably the smartest move, which was
Just
don't even draw out or drag out. Like, just get
right into
him dying.
Well, that's the thing too, is we didn't even know he was going to die.
I mean, I kind of felt like you've got to kill him, because otherwise your audience is going to always question. It's kind of a weird thing, like in Fast and Furious, where Paul Walker's character is still alive and they'll keep talking about him and seeing his car pull up, but it's like, but we all know that he can't get out of the car. So like, why do you keep doing this?
And I feel like that's like the anxiety around this movie. And as of today, actually, trending on Twitter is hashtag recast T'Challa.
I don't agree with that. And
I don't either. We can get into that too, but
we don't need that. But I will say this. I think I said it in one of the previous shows. I didn't like the first Black Panther film. I thought it had a lot of plot holes and inconsistencies. Some of the beginning of sloppy CGI.
That was my main complaint, is I didn't like the CGI. But for the rest of the movie, for me, I actually liked the first one. I would like to go back and rewatch it. And now, honestly, I kind of should have before I watched this movie.
There are elements of the first one that I enjoyed, but overall, I don't think it's a good movie. And I'm also kind of contrarian at a certain point. So when everybody started loving it, I was like, you guys, it's not that good. And I understand too, it was like, this is the first, like, it's an all black cast. And I think it's also why it made so much money too, because I know like church groups and stuff were buying out theaters.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, how many times have you been approached when the movie came out, was asked like, oh, did you like the movie?
Yeah, I did feel like me specifically, they're like, you didn't like it? It's like, no.
Yeah.
Luckily, I guess I get to say that since I am of a complexion. And I did feel like this one was going to be big as well because of the Chadwick Boseman ghost hanging over it. Same way that Dark Knight honestly made more money than it probably would have because Heath Ledger was dead.
Yep.
Now, and this is not to, like, I'm not putting anything down.
Oh, no.
I will say, one, smart storytelling decision to up front, this is just what we're going to do. We're going to deal with it immediately so that you're not waiting to see what happened.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did not want to happen. I did not want to wait. Because it was like such a big thing, is like address it immediately, and God, they do. It's right into the movie.
And, touching with the entire Marvel logo being all of Black Panther and Chadwick Boseman.
I will say, because I did see it in a theater with lots of people, it was complete silence for that opening. No music, just like a literal moment of silence. And it was so dead quiet in the theater. Not anybody was like touching their popcorn bags or anything. It was actually kind of scary.
I have to say, I saw it on a Saturday morning, so it was me and one elderly gentleman.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, and I noticed like no music, like this is nice. And I think it's also important, and this is why I don't agree with recast T'Challa. At a certain point,
I don't
yes,
agree either.
This is commercial, this is franchise stuff, but it's almost like if you recast Iron Man, it's like, no, Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark. Like we connect these actors to these larger than life characters. It's not quite like Batman where we do swap actors in and out.
That's what
they built this.
Like an argument I saw like that with that woman on TikTok. Actually, I saw her post on Twitter where she was like talking about like, this is so stupid that people are like demanding for him to be recast, because it's like, if Robert Downey Jr. had died in the middle of Age of Ultron, people would be like, don't fucking recast him. It's like, it's the same deal. And it's like, that goes into the thing is like, people are like making the argument. It's like, oh, Marvel recast all the time. It's fine. Just make him, because they didn't want who become Black Panther to be Black Panther. And like someone brought up like Thunderbolt Ross, and it's like, he's not a main character. He hasn't had a big
very much
movie.
On the side, and
I mean, really, he was at the end of the Hulk movie.
Hey, look, old white men all look alike.
And it's like, so it's like with that case, it's very sad that actor died, and I'm sure they'll put in like a dedication to him for whatever Thunderbolt movie or show they're going to make.
Maybe.
But also, he's such a minor character that it's like, it's easy to just go ahead and recast it if you still need that character. Whereas this one, technically you don't need Black Panther.
Well, I mean, as we'll kind of get to as well, like Black Panther in this 2 hour and 40 minute movie is only in the last 30 minutes.
Yeah. And
you don't have any Black Panther until the last 30 minutes of this movie.
That's another thing too, is like the Black Panther is the suit.
And
T'Challa is the character.
different than Iron Man 3, which I had problems with because, again, I was like,
Yeah.
I like Robert Downey Jr. Well, this is a goofy story, but it's like, I came to this movie to see Iron Man, not just Tony Stark running around doing stuff.
Right.
This one didn't hit me that way. I mean, I did notice, like, so are we just not going to have Black Panther in this movie that's called Black Panther?
It kept making me think about how little they kept making the Black Panther on the title screen with every poster announcement.
I mean, down to when the title shows up at the end, which also I felt like was really boring text, like almost seemed like placeholder text for the title. That's a nitpick, but it was like Black Panther is super small.
Yes.
Which again is like, honestly, the title of this movie really should just be Wakanda Forever.
Right. I think it should have been.
Subtitle Black Panther 2.
Yeah. I will say I don't like how they did kill him off. I will, I'm not really big into anime, but the ones that I have watched, I know pretty well. And one of them is Dragon Ball. And that's how they initially killed off Goku, was the same deal. Killed off screen by a heart disease. Something that he wasn't powerful enough to fight and no one could save him. Which is like, I'm fine with it, but I will say I think I would have preferred something different.
Like in battle?
I think that like maybe some kind of protection, but do it as an animatic. Do something cool. Do something like artwork. I
honestly feel like they... Because for all the problems I'm going to point out and what I didn't like about this movie, at the same time, I almost feel like you did the absolute best.
Yeah, you delivered literally the most worst hand possible.
Applaud them for not CGing.
That's what I'm literally about to say.
Or even pulling presumably deleted footage like Star Wars. Yeah. I know that they gave Star Wars the freedom to do that, but that they didn't use any other footage or anything else of like, let's just, so we can see the fact that we don't even see him, which does, I mean, if you don't know what happened, would be like, what is going on? But I think most people know what happened.
Exactly. That is the one thing I did not want, as I didn't want him running around as the CGI Black Panther and you see him get killed. I didn't want that because I'm like, that's so cheap.
I feel like the movie almost handled T'Challa's death like Chadwick's death.
They did.
Everyone was caught by surprise and we didn't, like this just happened.
Would you say that doing it in that way is like, I don't really know how to say it. Do you think it's disrespectful to have him dying like that again for people who knew the actual person?
Knowing that this is all the like same cast and
especially
crew,
the cast,
and I believe that Ryan Coogler, the director, was a friend of Chadwick Boseman, and again, I was thinking about this too. Is like he's had other roles. Like he wasn't just Black Panther
for sure. Yeah, he was a very accomplished actor.
But I think to a certain point too, kind of when you take on these characters. You see them when they go to hospitals of sick kids and stuff like you are this.
A bit of personality like becomes that.
And even though, again, I have my qualms with it, like, because he wasn't the first Black superhero. But for a lot of people, he was. He was the first major Black superhero, the first all-Black cast that almost made $1 billion movie coming out of a studio who previously had a head of Ike Perlmutter who didn't think women or Black people could sell movies.
Exactly.
To where I without him having told Ryan, do whatever you have to do, like preserve this character, preserve this storyline. I imagine that there was no, I don't think it was disrespectful. And I imagine he probably talked with the family. Now, my other thing, and like I said, it is a touching tribute to Chadwick and to T'Challa as well, really. So that out of the way, because that's not what I'm critiquing in this movie. There are two movies at play here. I know that Ryan had the script written before
it was completely
he died.
Finished.
And you can tell in watching this too, there's the Namor story, and then there's the grief story. And again, credit to him that it generally does flow pretty well, and they do interconnect very well. It's like, but he had to rework this entire thing Clearly, he kept a lot of that original story and kind of wrote a second story on top of it and melded them.
I will say that the with that, like, it's very hard to do in that sense. But also having the actual, like, you know, the actors they all acted with him and stuff. I feel like some of the scenes, especially when it's related to him, become genuine because of like you know, performance wise and stuff. It feels like some of the stuff really does start to come out like of their general, like, their genuine grief, which is really distressing at some parts. We're just like, God, this really sucks, like, to go through all this and still have to make this movie.
And I think, you know, he's buoyed by the fact that he had that cast returning from the movie, original movie. One, a cast of stellar actors and actresses, you know, all around.
All the way around.
To be able to pull this off. And, you know, speaks a lot to Chadwick that he clearly had that impression on people as well. That being said, I do feel like the two stories, again, it is very well written, but the movie is too long.
I will say,
and as I watched
there is two stories, but there is also a third story.
We'll get to.
Yeah.
As I watched it, I think you felt the length more than me, but it did feel like long. But I also was like,
mostly just because it was 11 at night.
I don't know where. There's not a chunk of the movie other than this other story that I could cut out. But I do feel like this movie is 20 minutes too long. It doesn't need to be 2 hours and 40 minutes because other than the opening, some discussion throughout the middle of the movie, and then the tag at the very end, it's not like it's wrapped up in being a tribute to Chadwick. And his ghost and T'Challa's ghost does hang over this entire movie.
It really does truly feel like something is missing from the movie, which is like, it's hard to fault the movie on it because it's like such a...
it's missing.
Like, that's...
It's star, essentially.
And that's what makes it so, like, distressing. Credit
to Letitia Wright, who plays Shuri, of stepping up from a side character to, I'm going to say, I guess, main character, but I'll argue the movie doesn't have a main character.
Right, it does not.
The story, I mean, the second story, the grief story, is really Shuri's story.
And, which is good. That's a good choice. The only weird thing for me is with her, which is not even that weird. It is the change of attitude, which makes sense.
Well, and that's a kind of question.
I think that's actually like very like telling of her acting skills.
So that's one thing I was going to say. Like, so she does well enough stepping into the title role, if not main character, but more believable in the grieving, angry character and performance in Sister, not so much the eventual strong warrior protector Black Panther.
Right. I can absolutely agree with that.
And even some of her anger, we get the line early on where she's like, I just want to burn the world down. But then we don't see that. I don't see any of that in her.
It's also like...
Because we don't get that much time. When she goes to America with Okoye, they're kind of making jokes. Again, not typical MCU.
That was the one thing that I was I actually wrote it down was the first joke of the movie was an AI joke, and it was literally just like a very like subtle one where it's like the mother
AI is going to take over the world.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was also like
I kind of wanted to be like
Ultron did that.
Mention Ultron,
but also
I assume you all know about him.
That's also a joke to like just what's going on in the world right now. So I was like, you know what? That's still a joke, but not a marvelly, he's standing right behind me type of a joke.
To a degree, her exchange with Okoye.
It felt like a mother and a daughter. Like
the MIT campus was kind of fun, but also was like, you didn't take me out of it. It wasn't as jarring as like Taika Waititi's Thor movies with the humor. But some of it also like, some of it little degrees, like, I don't feel like Okoye would be making jokes about this. Like, this is, but whatever.
Just to jump back to the beginning, right there. I was completely fine with it, and they had the whole like dance funeral, which is good. I'm really glad they decided not to do like some kind of pop song on top of it because if it was any other MCU movie, they absolutely could have.
I think the music and there's a lot of stuff in this one that I think is better than the first one.
The music, I think, the first album was really good.
I love Ludwig Göransson, but the music here was better. I don't know if this is just my theater or if this is the movie.
Right.
The audio mix seemed off. Like dialogue seemed a little bit beneath everything else.
Then I will say it probably was your theater because where I saw it in the Escape, which is all about audio, it was completely fine on for our end.
We're like, I don't have you like? Did you see Interstellar?
Yes, but I didn't see it in like a AMC or anything.
Imagine even in home theater, but like that, the music, right, is overbearing on top of everything else.
Yeah.
There were moments, actually, some of the score even reminded me of Interstellar a little bit.
Yeah, I there was a few. Yeah.
Like synthwave stuff, and I dug it. But one thing to bring up with Shuri and like her change in attitude is we have to remember this is 6 years later because T'Challa dies and we jump a year.
And then,
but this is still also after the
with
5-year
the
gap of the blip.
Which I guess we never got told if she blipped.
No, we do. You see Shuri's face on the wall of people who disappeared.
Okay.
In Endgame.
I wasn't sure on that one.
So again, I guess that negates what I was going to say about her attitude changing because no, technically she should still be around the same age.
So yeah, I guess, which is also like understandable for her character. Honestly, you know what? Now that having that element added makes Okoye even sadder. She watched him die twice.
Yes. And this is an issue with universe building that Marvel has struggled with since the first Avengers. And I want the movies to stand on their own, but you also have to understand, like, you play in a
There's
universe.
always a connection.
So I wanted a little bit more reference to the blip or Thanos. Yeah.
They did mention Thanos once. I wrote that down.
Lupita Nyong'o's character mentions Thanos. And I think that's when she left.
Yep.
Officially completely
yes,
left Wakanda.
Yes, she did.
But like when Queen Ramonda goes to the UN and kind of tells them like, no, I know you all are trying to fucking come steal our vibranium.
I will say that was probably one of my favorite highlight
moments
of the entire movie. I really loved her performance in that scene in particular.
And I kind of wanted more of that because that was a big thing.
Really
The first one was
that.
about Wakanda opening up and telling everybody like, hey, we're actually this. And because that was Killmonger, the villain of the first one's whole thing was like, he brought it up as like, how many did you care about that girl until I came and did this?
And it's like, ooh, this is good.
And I wanted them to play with the fact of like, you know, we don't trust you with this. That's why we're still doing these things or whatever.
Them bringing in the prisoners too. It was like, that's such a cool power play.
But the one senator played by Richard Schiff, who I hope kind of shows back up more. I like him as an actor.
I feel like he's been in another one of the Marvel movies.
No, you're thinking of Gary Shandling. He was a senator in another one.
Well, specifically that guy, though. I feel like I've seen him in something else.
He was in Man of Steel.
That's exactly what it was. Thank you very much.
Where he talks about, like, again, that you're not helping us. You're not dealing with this. I wanted them to bring up I don't remember what the act was called, but from Falcon and Winter Soldier, where it's all about...
Sokovia Accords?
No. We've the act of we have to deal with all these people that came back.
Yeah, you're right.
Repatriation or something like that.
Right.
And that didn't even get brought up. And I kind of was like, well, I know Wakanda got hit by this too. Like, how are they?
Also makes me question, because you get this 1 year gap, which is like the timeline of the movie is all over the place. So I'm like,
also,
what is happening?
Should be pointed out, every Black Panther movie literally starts now with the king dying.
Yeah. Like for me though, it's like you do this time skip, another time skip. Is this happening at the same time as Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Is this happening at the same time as Wanda versus Doctor Strange? Like, is this after all of that? Like, the timeline-wise, it's so hard to think about.
Some of that, like, I'm okay with, because at a certain point, too, like, once we meet Namor, our main antagonist...
Because that's another thing, we also don't know how long it was after returning from the blip that T'Challa actually died.
The way the movie plays, I just kind of saw, I was like, oh shit, like almost immediately after Endgame, this happened. And I know it's kind of just probably a logistics thing and money, but it was like, I don't know, I feel like at least Bucky would be at this funeral.
That I felt the same way. That's what makes me wonder if it's happening at the same time as Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Or, you know, some of them also want to argue, and I don't know the total backstory of Ironheart, but I know that she's inspired by Tony Stark and Iron Man at the very least.
For sure.
I know there's at one point, I think Shuri asked, like, is this Stark tech? And then that's it. But it was like, can you acknowledge the fact that you built an Iron Man suit? Like, that's what you did. To the point of, it also looks like the paint job can be excused away of like, oh, it's also the same paint job as the car that you and your dad built.
Do you mean the final product or the first one?
Technically both, but the final one, I mean, again, it does look like hers, but it's like, it's Iron Man. You built an Iron Man suit. Can you just acknowledge, because like that dude gave his life for you all too.
So, okay, it did kind of reference him some stuff, especially with like Well, I mean, there was some literal shot-for-shot remakes with like her hammering stuff, like literally the same angle.
Yes.
But with that character, she was talking about like, you know, how'd you learn how to do this? And she's like, oh, it was like this shit's online, which goes back to like the Justin Hammer stuff and like seeing like all the fake suits. So it's like, it's not to me anyway, like that unbelievable that people online would be like, these are my specs and this is how you can make like your own Iron Man suit at home. So it's like, even if she's super brilliant, I feel like it's a lot easier because it's literally taking Tony Stark stuff and redoing it. So it's like, she may have not come up with the thing entirely on her own in that sense.
But to get back to what I was saying too, no, you're totally right. I guess I wanted literally a line, like I wanted her to say, like,
I did too.
Well, you know, Iron Man, like you really inspired me.
I feel like they'll keep that for her show.
And also, I felt like this movie wanted to be insular to Wakanda and to Black Panther, which I get. And I feel like if Chadwick was here, like you would have had her say it or whatever. But
yeah.
Again, the point though is like once we get introduced to Namor and we really learn about, I'm not going to bother saying the actual name of the city. I'm just going to call it not Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was like, well, could just be like totally separate from the MCU world. Like there's other people wouldn't get involved because this is just your two nations dealing with this thing. Other than also the discovery of like, hey, there's a nation underneath the sea, you all.
Which, I mean, they did manage to actually make it to where they still don't really know that there is one.
True. No, I think so. The other thing, the scenes that could be cut out. Martin Freeman's entire storyline can be removed. He's here because he was in the previous one.
And also
it's the only bit, honestly, that is Marvel-esque setting up other stuff.
I will say, I don't know how completely true this is because the internet lies.
It does?
But I know one of the big things that people were mad about back in the first Black Panther is the movie poster for China covered Chadwick Boseman's face so that it wasn't a black person on the poster. And what's going around is that this is the poster for China.
Which is literally just a black void in Martin Freeman looking quizzically at the camera.
Which is like, I don't know
like
how
he's
true
also
that is.
saying, what, you're making me the poster? What?
Yeah.
I'm barely in this movie.
So it's like, I also wonder if that's also a thing they can just throw in there like that, because it's like, there's a lot of weird choices. We can get into something at the end too that I had a problem with.
So of all the stories, the bits that could be cut out of this, it is the entire thing of him and the CIA. But it's also the stuff I actually was more interested in once Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character showed up, who we've had glimpses of in Captain America and Winter Soldier. So I guess this is taking place after because she's already taken control now because she's now director.
She was at the end of Black Widow as well.
Correct. So this is her kind of biggest part so far, and I think she's going to be a big deal in the Thunderbolts movie and probably Captain America New World Order. I want to go and guess Secret Invasion as well. I mean, she's going to be a big player of, other than the supernatural time stuff that's going on, the grounded stuff. She is going to be the player on.
I agree.
And she was a lot of fun. One, as soon as he said new director and mentioned it was a woman, I was like, oh, you're talking about Julia Dreyfus's character, aren't you?
Yeah, that went completely over my head.
And I kind of was like, oh, it's just going to be a mention. I didn't expect to see her. And then when she showed up, I was like, oh,
and
dope.
Not only that, she's his ex-wife.
And then she immediately is boss bitch. I mean, she's kind of just doing her Veep role, but I love that role. But at certain points, I was like, she's acting too dumb. Like, I think she would know that this stuff is going on.
It felt a little too Elaine-ish.
And then it turned out, no, she wasn't dumb. She was playing you the whole time like she knew. And I loved her last scene where she just like had that bugged immediately.
Yep. And it's like, oh, that's fucking awesome. I love that.
It's like, can you imagine a world where we just took vibranium? She's like, I dream of it.
Yeah, like I really want that. It's like, damn.
Instead of either these scenes need to be excised from the movie or this should have been expanded and it should have been a little bit more political intrigue and kind of these two nations fighting with each other.
Yeah, because you start to get like...
And her taking advantage of that.
I know a lot of people are tired of it, especially if you watched any of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the whole Hydra stuff. But I still feel like the political underlaying stuff is something that's missed. And
that is from the comics. She's had a couple different variations or whatever, but she is a double, triple agent type person.
And it's like not specifically Hydra, but like
No,
it still
actually,
has that. Like
she does. She eventually defects from Shield and goes.
no,
to
I meant for
Hydra
this,
and becomes Madam Hydra.
which they did in Agents of Shield.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I guess they're not going to do that with her here.
Yeah,
But she will still be clearly duplicitous.
and which actually they could do it because the character actually kind of looks like her.
But those are the scenes that could easily be cut, and other stuff could probably be shrunk down.
I was talking about like I had a really weird note that I took down. The RHCR for Bilbo Baggins. It was when they cut to him, they started playing "Don't Stop" by the Red Hot Chili Peppers for Martin Freeman as he's jogging, and that was the one pop song in the entire movie that ripped me straight out of the movie.
It caught my attention, but I mean, then they shifted it into diegetic. That's what he's listening to, but it almost was like,
Which that was fine.
But it was almost like, why did you play it for 10 seconds for me to hear like this? Just for you didn't need it, but you know, I get it. It's basic movie making.
Also, white people like Red Hot Chili Peppers.
True.
And but with that, his character stuff in the movie did feel like it didn't belong because it was too short for the long movie.
He had very little impact. Like you could cut him out and it really wouldn't.
Well, yeah, nothing really would change.
Make a difference. And versus some other things where I had some questions. Again, like I said, there are a lot of plot holes for me in the first Black Panther. This one, not so much.
It felt like they actually kept it grounded just enough that if there is any plot holes, it's not as noticeable.
And I feel like Ryan Coogler is a really good director, but I feel like this was a step up action-wise from him from the first one. There were much nicer camera setups. And
it felt like this, and it probably will get the effect of what they wanted Eternals to be.
Also, I'll say, at least of Phase 4 Marvel, there wasn't a single visual effect really that I was like, ooh.
There was one for me.
The tractor beam thing is a little weird looking.
I was going to say, having Chadwick Boseman's coffin literally fly into a UFO was a little...
That did look weird and goofy.
Tasteless.
But they used a tractor beam other times in the movie, and it still looked...
The fact that they used it more times made me like more forgiving for it. With that, too, there's a character where it's before Namor actually attacks the city, where they're standing and they're like laughing. It's like M'Baku standing there. It's a really, really weird CGI green screen shot.
I did notice the backdrops or the...
It was just that one scene in particular because it stayed on them talking for so long with one not cutting shot that it made it more distracting. And I don't know if it was just the theater as well, but I was like, that's the only thing I can actually point out that looked weird.
Some of the backdrops looked a little almost bland to me, and to where I felt like the first one did a better job of creating a space of Wakanda and feeling like a new, not world, but culture and city that I hadn't seen before. And this one, I feel like we had like 2 outside sets.
Yes.
And then a bunch of digital backgrounds.
That is my main complaint about Black Panther and this movie, as well as Infinity War. We have not seen Wakanda. We've not seen the city. We're like every set piece that we've been on are outskirts or the plains. We've not actually been inside of the city with these skyscrapers. You see just bits and pieces, but you've never seen a character on the ground in the city.
I guess that's true.
And it's like, that's kind of like off-putting for me. I get it too, because it's like, you know, that's a lot. And also you had to come up with a plan of what the actual high-tech city would look like. So they kind of keep it more traditionalized with like older buildings mixed with tech stuff. And I feel like that scene in particular really highlighted that because it kind of like blurred the background with like a Gaussian blur so that you didn't get to focus on the details of what the actual buildings really looked like.
And I wonder too if that was a time thing. Just like, we don't have time.
Absolutely,
so let's do this with the backgrounds. Because everything else did mostly look really good. One note that I took in the theater was water grenades are cool.
I did like the water grenades. And speaking of, we get the introduction to our first characters there for the first time we see the water people. That was genuinely
scary.
Actually, like terrifying with the underwater stuff. I know tons of people have that phobia anyway, But it was like, this is actually uncomfortable and really well done that I want more of this.
Even the music took on a little bit of a horror tone, and wasn't expecting to see Lake Bell in this movie. She doesn't serve a purpose, so I kind of don't know why she was there, but paycheck.
Yeah. And then you get like this actual like underwater jellyfish, which is like,
it never gets called. We never see that again.
I wonder if
they
it's
mentioned
like,
that Namor's skin is like a jellyfish, which made me think, was that him down there?
I don't think so. I think
but it wasn't.
Well, I mean, it was literally red, sort of like a red herring, to make you think that maybe there's a creature.
The siren song thing is very cool.
I liked that a lot.
Kind of even referencing like mermaids.
I thought it was part of the soundtrack. That's one of the things that we talked about with Black Adam, is like with having the Kanye West song start and it feels like it's in the plane. This is the one where it's like, oh, cool soundtrack. Oh, no, this is happening. That's cool.
But it was also eventually like kind of like went to the wayside. Granted, as certain people saw it, they observed like put in earplugs.
I am so glad that they brought it back because it was like, they only used it the one time. I'm going to be furious.
But it was kind of like, why wouldn't you just use this constantly? And also it was like, why are you afraid of the surface world when you can sing us to our death, apparently?
Yeah, that's one of those things like, just don't think too hard about it. But their actual attacking of the boat and all that stuff was really fun. I actually really enjoyed it. Like it was like intense. It reminded me of Peter Jackson's King Kong. Okay. Where like just taking over the boat from the water.
Here's a couple questions I have from it though. Bullets seemed to not affect them. But
that was
sometimes
strange.
It did kind of affect them. Down to even Okoye's fight with them on the freeway or whatever.
Well, they just like got back up.
She strip impaled one of them. And then he got back up, which I mean, I could be like, okay, I guess, super strong. But then at the ending fight, it's like, you appear to just be taking him out, but I don't.
I mean, they literally shot the prisoner or guard at the end and she dies. What's the difference?
She shot her with some plasma thing, so I can.
Gotcha, okay.
But everything else, like, you're still just all fighting with spears and stuff, and it's like, you did that earlier and he got up. Also, did Okoye and her nemesis actually finish their fight? I feel like they fought a little bit on the top of that boat.
No, they didn't.
And she said, you will die or whatever she said. And then, but then we cut back to them. The non-Atlantean people are now surrounding the Wakandans, about to basically win.
You know what? That happened so fast that I feel like he got stabbed and thrown off the boat.
Oh, okay.
But also, I don't know if that actually happened. Might be in my mind. But with that, having them be blue when they reach the surface world, I'm sure.
I did notice that when they're in the water, they're not.
Yeah, they're not.
So I assume it has to do with the oxygenation of their skin, which is a cool touch.
James Cameron is teasing.
It's just like, does Disney not see like these are big blue people in the water, and it's like, literally in 4 fucking weeks or so you're going to give us
with like tribal weapons as well.
And it's all about resources.
And that's the thing, too. I was talking about, like, with the Avatar 2 trailer. There's a shot where they're riding a Pandora whale on its side, holding onto it, and it jumps out of the water, and they all jump off and attack a boat, which is exactly what happens in this movie. It's just not a Pandora whale. It's an actual whale.
Now, though, will the Na'vi have water grenades?
Maybe. But getting into actual Namor, he is possibly the best MCU villain for me.
So,
I also love Mesoamerican stuff anyway. So his style, all that stuff, was an instant highlight.
I really appreciated that they, unlike Black Adam, did stick to Namor's anti-hero slant, where he's not a straight up villain. Sometimes he is a good guy. Sometimes he's going to do what's in his best interest.
Yeah, like it's what
and they even in this kept him the antagonist too. It didn't turn into, okay, I'm on your side now. We're going to fight this other thing.
So for me, it feels like he was built up in the way that if we were watching a movie about him and Wakanda was the enemy, we'd be automatically on his side.
So that's a very interesting point that you bring up. One, Namor's also given a modern MCU update. He does look a little bit different.
Yeah, this is one of those things that I was completely unclear.
Slightly less goofy, just like how Aquaman is slightly less goofy now.
So is the wings on the feet always the thing?
Yes, those are.
Was he always underwater with the wings on the feet?
Yeah, basically, I mean, the green underpants, the wings, the ears, all that stuff is always there. Okay. They just kind of made him, they made that look as cool as it could look. I guess is the best way to put it.
The wings are super lame, and they knew it, so they didn't have it on screen constantly.
From the performance and even the ending fight, where the wings do get a little bit of like camera play, his movement and his kind of ferocity made it like, okay, I mean, oh, I'm okay with this, I guess.
That's what I did like. A lot of people are saying that he was a boring villain. I don't really get that personally.
So you say, he was the best. I'm going to put him in that category. I think Killmonger, one, was the best part of the first Black Panther.
Absolutely.
He was the first MCU villain where it's actually like, oh, this villain is like is a complete character and has motives where it's like, I don't agree with what you're doing, but I agree with why you're doing it.
I mean, you see who the director and the writer is for the last ones. Like, hey, maybe you should write all the villains.
And they still haven't really done that again, other than Thanos being which I understand why you're doing what you're doing.
He luckily got 2 movies to explain his character.
But this Namor does not hit the heights that Killmonger hit for me.
I can definitely agree with that. It's hard to follow up Michael B. Jordan with that because also he just killed that role.
One kind of and maybe what people are saying is boring is we somehow don't get enough time with Namor.
Even though we do.
Even though some of the like going down into a city parts.
Right.
At certain points, I was like, can we speed this up, please? Like, I get it. It's very pretty down here.
Yeah.
I did see it in 3D. There was one really cool shot looking down through this like tunnel of their city with people swimming. That in 3D was like, well, this is dope. But like all the like kids smiling at her, which I know is to show that like, look, they're literally
Wakanda
evil warriors. Like it's you. This is you. Same thing you were doing up there.
Right.
I get it. And
for me, I feel like,
but also Namor's plan confused me because it's like I want the scientists because they can find vibranium. First of all, the question is, how do you know about America? I reconcile it in you probably kidnapped Lake Bell before you killed her because clearly you kept their suits.
Yeah, and also
that's the only way Shuri got to go down from the suit you took from the murdered person.
Right.
So I guess now maybe that's where you know about America. Whatever.
But also with that too, like, it's also to the side of like, he's so old and you think he would understand that once something is out of the box, you can't put it back in. Like those plans would still just exist even if the scientist who made it is dead.
And also I did like that he kind of turned it on like, your son, T'Challa, is the cause for this. This is why you're going to help me because he showed them, although honestly, like we did know about vibranium before. Captain America's shield was made out of it.
Yep.
Granted, it's the only thing that came out of it. But so he wanted the scientist to kill her. But then once he gets her and Shuri,
I feel like you should just immediately just shoot her in the head as soon as she steps through the door, right?
His plan, he then says his plan is that he wants Wakanda to ally with them. So was that always his plan or is he changing his plan now because she like resisted killing this girl?
I feel like it was like a change.
Because it made it seem like that was always his plan.
It also kind of gave it like a bit of a sexual undertone, like where they're like kind of like almost flirting with each other.
I think there's supposed to be some of that.
And so it's like, did you change your mind because, you're like, we could really like reunite our kingdoms together?
I think it was supposed to also mostly be giving them kind of a bond.
Right.
So that their fight would be more meaningful at the end.
I will say the flashback scenes with like showing his birth and stuff, I was like, actually kind of really like this.
It was cool. The only flashbacks I didn't like was at the end was Shuri deciding to kill him or not. And we suddenly get rewind flashbacks of his attack.
I wrote that down. I don't know why they were in reverse.
Yeah, because you're not undoing any of this.
Yeah.
He definitely did those things.
That was strange.
I did like his line when he kills the queen. We're just like, now you're the queen.
Right.
Basically saying like, well, yeah, you want to decide. Now you're going to be the one to decide.
He did have a Walking Dead style speech though, where he's just like, bury your dead and then we'll talk, like that kind of stuff. It was just pretty much what, I don't know, the governor would say. I will say though, when they're in the water, the Finding Nemo stream.
That shoots them down to the city.
That was I don't know. I didn't really like that personally. I don't know why.
Even though I'm not a big fan of the Aquaman movie, like I did kind of feel like I just enjoyed that underwater world more.
Yeah.
Than this one.
It also just felt too dark almost. Like it was just like the world is too sad down there. Like it's really beautiful and cool, but also
brought them a son.
Yeah.
My question was like, wait, maybe I missed a line or dialogue when you were talking. I was like, how did you, what is that? And how did you get it down?
You know what? That'd be pretty cool if it ties into the multiverse and it was...
maybe the 10 rings came from there.
No, it was Otto Octavius's son. He's like, I found it in New York in the harbor.
So you're saying they've been living down there in the dark for however many thousand years he's been alive. And for the last 6 months, like, hey, I got a son.
Yeah, I found this, dude. It's cool. It's like, I got it from this like weird octopus guy, but he drowned.
So I want to talk about Nakia, Lupita Nyong'o's character.
Yes.
the kind of infiltrator warrior from the first movie.
I had absolutely zero idea who she was when she first appeared. When like the queen went to talk to her, I was like, "Why? Who is this person?" And I was like, they started talking. And it's like, "Should I know who you are?" And then it like finally clicked. I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it now."
Yeah, maybe you should have rewatched the first one.
I should have rewatched it.
Luckily, I remember, like, there's good call. They actually did a surprising number of callbacks to the first one because I was like, "Hey, where's Daniel Kaluuya's character?
Yeah.
Okoye's husband." And they made a reference of like, "Oh, he's in prison." Got it.
Yeah.
I was so glad when she showed up. Not saying the movie was dragging or anything else, but like, I like her. I like that. One, she's just a good screen presence, but also I like that character more than Shuri. In regards of Shuri, for me, works as a side character.
Well, which essentially this entire movie is just side character of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, basically all the side characters had to step up and like, I guess we're all main cast now. And I know in the comics, Shuri is the one who becomes Black Panther. I get it,
Right.
she's part of the family, but they did give Nakia a reason why she wouldn't even want to be Black Panther because I mean, she's doing the work she's doing in Haiti.
And also, she's like,
Turns out she has a kid that is T'Challa's kid. But
yeah, she's just
I just
doing good work.
I just like her more.
Yeah.
And even when they finally figured out how to make the flower again to give the Black Panther powers, it was like she was there. I'm like, great, you're down here. Like you choose to take it. You drink it.
You drink it.
Oh, she's gonna drink it.
Yeah. There is a shot. I would love to see the comparison when the movie's on streaming. Her costume, her armor is kind of green.
Mm-hmm.
She's standing on the beach looking at the sunset. And I think it's almost exactly the same shot as the Eternals, the same type of shot with the character wearing a green suit. And I wonder if it's also like a reference where they're like, hey, this is our award-winning shot. We really want to get this one to work this time. But I kind of felt that looked a little very eternally in that one as well.
Didn't see the Eternal, so I wouldn't get it. But when she showed up, I enjoyed her. I mean, that's when we get the Thanos reference. Her conversation with Angela Bassett was really good.
It
kind of
felt
explaining
good.
that she didn't go to the funeral, which we find out later why she didn't go. And then her action scenes were great. And then she kind of disappears into the background again.
Yeah, and then she comes back and does things here and there.
Same with Okoye. Okoye kind of gets a lot of character.
She is my favorite of the
And
characters.
Again, she has a great scene with Angela Bassett too, where Angela Bassett's like stripping you of all of this.
Dude, that was
you lost
actually
my
like
daughter.
pretty fucked up. Like,
And you kind of side with Okoye, and then the Queen goes like, "No, I stood by you when you revolted against T'Challa in the last movie." And it's like, "Oh yeah, that's right, you did do that."
kind of do that.
To where you're like, "All right, actually, I get why the Queen's doing this. I guess you should get stripped of." Like, that's great.
And I will say with her as well, like with her scenes, like Okoye's scenes, the fight scene at the beginning is great. The fight on the bridge was probably my favorite part of the entire movie.
It's the best action scene in the movie because the opening action scene where they're getting the mercs.
It's the first time that I felt in a Marvel movie at all, including Infinity War in a game where I'm like, she has an actual genuine chance of dying right now. Like, they might kill this character off right here.
Strangely, maybe because Chadwick wasn't here, like I didn't feel like any of you could die, I guess.
Yeah. And I don't know, just because they've showed how like relentless these guys can be and how strong they are. That scene in particular where she's fighting and she gets thrown off the bridge, I was like, is she gonna die right here? Because it kind of felt like that, where it's like when she lived, I was kind of like slightly disappointed because I was like, I kind of wanted you to kill the character off.
Oh, I mean,
but also,
wait 20 more minutes to kill the Queen.
Yeah. But yeah, with the whole stripping of that stuff is like, okay. And also, I agree with the Queen as well, but I'm also on your side because you've done a lot more than she realizes too. I mean, you did literally fight alien creatures coming through and watched him turn to dust. I feel like that kind of goes above revolting against you.
Yeah, and also she was there at the ending battle of Endgame too.
Fighting the same aliens again.
With, all of the Avengers and stuff.
Yeah.
And again, like I don't need the Avengers mentioned all the time, but the fact that Riri continually referenced Wakanda was like, can you mention the fact of what the Avengers did?
And which, speaking of, with all that stuff, it's nice that she was a plot device that didn't have to stay on screen constantly.
Yeah, because I kind of like the actress.
She's
did
kind of the
a
MacGuffin of the
fine
movie.
job, but at a certain point, she started to annoy me a little bit.
Which is like, good way to make a kid annoying.
And really, she's the reason Ramonda dies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, I wanted a nod, like just say like Iron Man.
While the CGI definitely looked better, the suit that the girlfriend character gets, Shuri made, does look very Power
The
Rangey.
Blue Angel.
Yeah, it
So I
looks
have a
very
note
Power
about that.
Rangery.
I didn't like it the first time we were shown it. I like that Okoye also thought it looked stupid.
That helped.
It looked like at first I thought a Mass Effect alien, but I realized really it's like, oh, it looks like Abe Sapien from Hellboy, but like a
That is
cosplay
like
Abe Sapien.
like you made a stylized version of his face.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can see that.
and I don't like it. And it seemed almost unnecessary. I mean, and also we're shown in the first 10 minutes, and they're just like, well, that's going to be used in the
Yeah,
final
that'll
battle.
come back for something. When Namor actually does attack the city, he kills the queen with the water bombs. That effect with the water is so damn good that I'm like, did you actually flood this room with?
Did you blow Angela Bassett away with water?
Yeah, like because like with the shitty CGI that we've seen, that looks so damn good that it's like, is it real?
I really loved all of the water stuff and the water effects.
And water effects are hard to fucking do and make it look good.
Couldn't help but think like, is either this going to get blown away by Avatar 2, or did James Cameron get a special look at this and it's like, I gotta go. All right, I gotta go do another pass on this water now.
Literally, like, what's he gonna do? But because I mean, some of it still is CGI. You can tell, like, just.
But it's still
all the actual above surface explosions looked really fucking good.
They looked really good. Even, I mean, in this movie, used more slow motion. I don't want Zack Snyder slow motion.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of slow motion myself.
But they would linger on these slow motion shots for an almost more than Zack Snyder length of time. Like when M'Baku gets hit in the chest by Namor, like breaking through his armor. First of all, I thought he was dead. I was like, did you explode his heart?
I was like, did they just kill M'Baku? And when he actually got up, I was like,
But I felt like the force of the punch hitting him and breaking the armor was like, this is 8 seconds we're sitting here watching this. Like, I get it. He got hit really hard.
If it's that effect, it feels like he should have been dead for that long of a shot. And which, I mean, I like M'Baku a lot, but
he kind of has a character turn here too.
He definitely did.
One. And I wish the movie had played this up more of Sherry's decision towards the end, because I think this is what did it. He makes a really good point of they don't see Namor as a king or a ruler. They see him as a god.
Like literally a god.
If you kill him, they will never stop coming after us,
which is
until we're gone or whatever. That's
really good point.
I don't want war. And if you do this, like, they will never stop being at war with us.
And like, it's like M'Baku is actually a really smart person, and all the stuff that he's done in the past movie was like, you're literally on his side, because he's like, I'm part of Wakanda, but I got my own nation up here.
So let's get to the ending. First thing, do they already have this big old giant battleship?
Yeah, where did that come from?
Because last time you had war rhinos.
But also,
I mean, I know you're a technologically advanced nation and you have your ships and stuff.
Did you 3D print it? Even though, like, that's another thing is like Namor said, like, the moment you put a Wakandan ship on the water, I will know. So it's like,
which he didn't.
Yeah, you didn't know that.
They knew about the vibranium detector they put down there. So that's how they lured him over.
It's like, but also it seems like he really does know everything, like it touches the water.
Which is why at a certain point again, I'm like, why are you worried about the surface world?
Yeah.
Like, you seem to have this, like, yeah, we're coming for vibranium.
Pretty under control.
But it seems like you could kick our ass.
If he just not said anything to the Wakandans whatsoever, they could have went ahead and killed that girl and then went and visited them.
They made it seem like they didn't know who the scientist was. But it then makes it weird of like, as soon as Shuri and Okoye get her, like
were they being followed? Like, how does that work? So it's like that's the big like question mark for me for sure, because it's like, they're like, hey, there's vibranium down here. Let's fucking just go and dig it up, and we'll just go throw it in the pond next to Wakanda and say that they did it and put all this on them. Like,
yeah, because he also seemed to have a pretty good understanding of Wakanda as well.
Yeah.
To where, again, it's where it seems like his plan was to get them to ally together because they're the two places where vibranium is.
Yep.
And even at the end, when his second in command's like, why are you being a backing down?
Yeah.
And he's like, look, she's in charge now, but like Wakanda has no allies, and they're eventually like people are gonna come for that vibranium, and when they do, she's gonna turn to me, and then we can do this. So I love again that they kept him as a villain, but it made it seem like so this was your plan all along. You didn't just want to kill the scientist, did you?
And that's what I want to get to at the end as well.
I didn't even consider. You made a good point too. Is like, do you think if you kill one person that stops us from having the detector?
Right, and also like the before Chadwick, the old king absolutely would have fucking killed that girl, which is what goes into when she drinks the juice and Killmonger shows up.
Unexpected.
Very, very happy about it. But also that could have been the point where they could have put in a CGI Chadwick Boseman.
I got worried like, are they going to do it?
Because also I was like, I don't want to see the Queen again. It's like, whatever. I don't give a shit about that right now. Because it's like, that doesn't have the same effect. So it's like, who's going to show up? Is it going to be the dad Black Panther, which would be weird?
No, because he didn't seem to have a special relationship with Shuri.
I was gonna say, like, that'd be weird. And then as soon as it turned around, I was like, oh shit! I was like, it was actually like I set up a little bit in my seat. Like, oh, now I'm like really into the movie again.
And he made salient points as well. Just like your dad would have done it. He killed his brother.
Yeah, and I was like, he fucking sure did, dude. And like, and I was like all about it and stuff, and like down to the point of like her waking up and like, well, she's got Killmonger's power. Like,
I mean, she picks Killmonger's helmet,
and that's I was like also like, I kind of like that a lot. And that's a lot of the things that people are saying online. It's like you should just brought back Killmonger somehow. I should have him come through
a lot of people
portal.
Wanted that, and all lie, like if they had done it a smart way, like I like the character of Killmonger. I like Michael B. Jordan, so it would be
really funny if somehow he knew Peter Parker off screen, so he did come back to the world from another universe.
And while him being really the first great MCU villain because he had motives we understood, it was also sad of like, and you're killing him too. Like we can't have anybody that remains, so we like have a threat that's like, oh, I get it.
And then that goes into the end of the movie where it's a big fight scene, which is, it's to the point, it's like the Nemorians should have absolutely wrecked them.
They seem, so at certain points, we get a little montage where Shuri and the Wakandans are kicking ass, and it's like, oh, they're going to win. And then Shuri gets impaled, which we'll talk about.
Yes, we will.
And then when we come back to the Wakandans, who were previously 5 seconds ago whooping ass, and now they're just surrounded and like about to be taken. I was like, what? This is like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, like
Long Nights. Like
they just pulled a full reversal, but it also feels like nothing is happening. Like you just keep like you're fighting and fighting, but there's no repercussions to any of this. Like they show the like Okoye and them like literally flying in. And then they're just like, I was like, can you just guys not do that anymore? Like, why are you fighting on the ground now? Like, why did you even like do this? And then also like, what's Ironheart up to? Like, you're not going to help either?
She's flying around doing stuff.
Yeah, your entire like movement was to go and just distract him, which is fine. But now it's like, you can still fly around. These guys don't have birds. They got fish.
Only one of them had winged feet.
Why did you go into the water like in your Iron Man suit? That entire like that fight scene was like, damn it. They did a Marvel ending.
It does, but it's not as marvelly as some other stuff.
It's not as bad, but that fight scene in particular was.
And because the Black Panther Namor fight was so much better than Black Panther versus Killmonger, because it appeared to at least be to stunt people.
Yep.
With occasional CG that I couldn't pick out versus previous movie, which was like, well, this is just two CG figures flopping about.
Yeah.
And it had, some stakes. My other thing too, I want to mention during this ending battle, I was conflicted of like, you're giving me this triumphant music as Wakandans are killing and whooping ass on the Nemorians. But I'm just like, from what I've been shown, kind of, they're just like you. So you're being incredibly hypocritical.
Yeah. Which that's just something I wanted to bring about.
I don't know how I'm supposed to feel right now.
Wakanda kind of sucks. Like, even in the first movie,
that was
really
kind of the point.
shitty.
That was kind of the point of the first movie. That was Killmonger's thing, and what Black Panther came to realize his dad was wrong. Was like, why did you seal us off? Like, we can be helping
like
the world,
and that's what makes it like. Even with this, is like you guys haven't learned anything.
That was one thing where it did seem like because they mentioned outreach or outposts and stuff like that, but it's like you kind of just dismiss and hand wave away you opening up and these things. Like you dropped a line or two, and I get it. You had this other, like, maybe that was more of the story originally. And it was like, well, I got to write
like
this.
Black Panther dying and having T'Challa die, it just made them revert back to right where they were, perhaps.
Could be.
And it's like, because you get that one line in like Infinity War, it's like, now we have a Starbucks or something like that. And it's like, did you guys kill the Starbucks employees or something?
No,
like,
she thought it meant they were going to get a Starbucks.
Oh, okay. But it's like that kind of thing is just like, you still like do this entire thing where you have to like open the doors and stuff for people. If you did have like these outreach programs, is anybody allowed actually in?
I mean, as Martin Freeman says, like, no, they were recruiting Riri, to go. So, I mean, I guess they're trying to give us like, yes, they are doing this outreach thing.
Well, he made that up though.
Yes, but I guess he made it up because they knew they'd buy it.
Because it's happening.
But to this ending fight, for both, I did feel like Namor or Shuri's like, kind of like with you and Okoye on the bridge, like either one of you could die.
Yeah, which when
she got impaled, I was like, are you going to kill another Black Panther? And part of my mind was like, good, so Nakia will be Black Panther.
Yeah, that's kind of, I kind of felt the same way, where I was like, you know what, killing off the entire like T'Challa family like legacy, maybe that is the best choice.
But also want to bring up, so I know that they have special healing powers and the suit's a thing, but she's impaled.
I wrote this down.
She does cut off the spear to move herself off of it, and then the suit seals up, but it's like, your guts, shit had a spear through it.
Yep.
And I mean, yeah, she's wounded at the end of that fight, but then after the fight's over, she seems fine.
Is it, you got the Tony Stark nanobot healing stuff going on? Which is also like, okay. But my
if that's
thing
the case, then like, I'm never worried about Black Panther, I guess.
I wrote down for their fight scene, the foot wings were the weakness. I liked that when she like ripped one of that wings out, or feathers or whatever. He was like, oh my fucking God. Like, I was like,
I did like that.
But also, she's like scratching him and she's like fucking puts her claws in his back and you see blood start to like bubble up. I'm like, holy shit, blood. Then I wrote, never mind under it. When she pulled herself off the spear, it should have at least been red.
I will say when she triggers her big final punch and like ignites the engine behind him, one, it was a very good looking effect, I thought.
I also kind of thought she would die with it.
And I also was like, for the second we're going to get this side view of Namor just being blasted by this fire. I was like, God, that's a little bit dark.
That's why I was like,
and actually, I thought he was dead.
Yeah, like you won points with me with showing him actually getting scars and keeping the scars and getting like stabbed through his skin, but then not doing that. It's like, damn it. But also, the entire thing, the entire plot device they figure out is his skin absorbs water through the air and everything like that, so he can like breathe, and that's how he gets his power. So they
dry him out.
They cook him. They crash on a beach, and he is flying around, fighting her. Why wouldn't you just
immediately go to water?
Like just go there, yeah, then you come back. Like he's flying fast
because he's consumed with vengeance. That's what she says. Like, you and I have both been consumed by vengeance. We can't lead our people to this.
That was the big thing for me. Is like I just like you're too close to the shoreline to not. Like, I mean, even like stepping on wet sand, I feel like you could at least absorb some water through that.
I mean, she doesn't win the fight, and I want to applaud them for that too, because my other thing was like,
yeah,
she's not a warrior. She's a scientist who had
she's
sonic gloves.
Still technically a kid.
I like that her sonic gloves were part of her Black Panther outfit.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It did look a little weird when it transformed there for a second.
Well, all the Thanos stuff looks weird in my opinion because it's just like sloppy. But I was just like, you're also not a warrior. You haven't had any training. Like, yeah, we didn't see what Chadwick's training was, but it was made clear that like he had been training to be Black Panther. Nakia is already a warrior. She got your ass out of not Atlantis.
Yeah.
Again, so I'm not gonna bitch about it. She's a Black Panther.
I'm fine with that, especially because it's technically she's Killmonger. Like that, I like that too.
I also noted that not only did she take his like,
even her suit coloration is like a mix between the two.
Well, I think it comes from the helmet. So I mean, I guess it is his suit. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But like, she looks at both of, I guess it was her dad's and then T'Challa's, and she chooses Killmonger's, which goes back to her vision where he's like, are you going to be a bitch like your brother? Be your dad? Or are you going to be like me and handle shit? For even though she keeps telling us, like, I'm not like you, but she's like, okay, but in this instance, I will do what you would do.
I think it was also like an acceptance that she did, or that she wasn't her brother. She was more Killmonger, which I think goes into the end of her not claiming the throne.
But I noticed, like, it's interesting that she's going to keep the Killmonger one, presumably. I mean, honestly, it's probably just to like differentiate her from Black Panther, honestly, for the audience. But
yeah,
like to know is like, well, that's the one who like destroyed a lot of shit here and like fucked stuff up. But he also had a good side too.
Like that's the one thing I really did like about that part is like, it felt good in the sense that like I can accept this as the Black Panther because also it's like you're not really replacing T'Challa. The Black Panther is like a completely separate character, and it's design and like execution. I mean, like even when you see him first in Civil War, it's not T'Challa. He's like this vengeful, like angry guy just trying to kill Bucky the entire time.
And yeah, that's his like inline in Civil War. It's like I was consumed by vengeance. That's what you want those two to be.
So it's like it feels like that's why I like more about the Black Panther is it's like
also T'Challa's parents have a real thing about getting blown up by windows.
Yeah.
And then obviously we get our ending scene where Shuri does the ritual that her mother kind of talked about. We get these flashbacks I was fine with. We get flashbacks of Chadwick, T'Challa.
From old movies or footage, which was like, that was fine.
And it was good as a nice touch. Here's the weird thing though. I don't know if it's just because I'm older now, more cynical or what. Because I'm not a fan of the Fast and Furious at all.
Yeah.
I felt like Fast 7, its send off to Paul Walker
was better.
Yeah.
Like the
not like, the song. But just like even though it was also cheesy, but it was like, I don't know, like
Vin Diesel's line is like, you always be my brother.
Somehow I felt more. I don't know. But again, this was, nice. I appreciate that they didn't do any CG fakery or anything like that.
Yeah, I think that's still my main takeaway.
I mean, we don't even hear his voice. I kind of thought they'd at least use you had voice lines that he did for What If and stuff.
Yeah.
Like you could have had him say something, but our tag, we get Nakia coming out. She introduces that she has T'Challa's son, which is kind of a nice wrap up for Shuri's story too, where it's like she feels like she's lost all her family, and Nakia's like, actually, so you have this.
This is,
and then we get the big tag, which is like, I don't remember what other name he said.
Yeah, it was something.
But he's like, my real name is T'Challa.
Yeah.
And she cries and fades out.
So that's what I have to talk about here is something that I have not seen other people talk about just yet. Namor refers to himself as a mutant.
I noticed that.
So that's the first time that the word mutant has been actually said.
Yep.
I mean, it was in the Kamala Khan show saying like almost like you have like a mutation or something like that. But this is the first real.
In WandaVision, they said it was mutating your genes.
Okay.
But they've not said mutant.
This one got me curious because Namor was born from someone who had consumed something from vibranium. Does that mean that the new kid is a mutant because his father had drank a plant from vibranium?
Well, all the Black Panthers had drank that.
Yes.
To become Black Panther. So that would have already meant that to a degree.
Does that mean that
T'Challa was already a mutant?
I was going to say, does that mean that he is, and does that mean that Shuri is as well? Because what they explained in the Kamala Khan show is that something has to unlock it, basically, if you have that gene.
I don't think that they're going to go that route.
You don't think so? You don't think that was also a setup for him?
I mean, I think the fact that he said mutant was not a coincidence, but I don't think they're going to stem all of the mutant species from vibranium.
They could.
They could, but that would also limit them in a way of like, well, if vibranium only existed in these two places, then every mutant would have to be from here.
It could also touch on it, maybe even like just spitballing. Like technically, I guess Wanda has some mutant stuff going on.
I think that they have a number of different things that either one, they could tie it all to like Wanda's Hex created mutants.
It could also be Infinity Stone related.
Or a combination of all these things of like mutations have been unlocked. So some of them, yes, were from the vibranium plant. Some of them are from Wanda fucking with reality.
And I think that's also what I'm thinking too, is it's just one of the sources that is possible. Whereas like you had the crystals for like the Inhumans.
Terrigen mist.
Yeah. So it's like, could this also be a thing like the vibranium? Because we know it's from another planet. Technically, Thor's hammer could be vibranium. We don't know.
No, that just gives cancer.
Yeah. But like that's kind of the one thing that I was like, is that what they're alluding to? That he's also could potentially be one of the mutants?
I think it was a little wink and nod to nerds who's like, oh shit, you said mutant.
Yeah.
But also Namor is in some ways tied to the X-Men. He's also been tied to the Fantastic Four. Like him and Sue Storm have a little thing.
But also we know that gods are real in this universe. So it's like the gods pointed us to this plant. We know absolutely if Thor Love and Thunder exists, yeah, like so there's that thing, but also the actual Black Panther god is in Love and Thunder. She just is in the background.
You could even have it being the celestial partially emerging, since I do know that.
Yeah.
That created a wave of whatever that like has unlocked mutations in
also,
people.
Did Demora know about that?
So yeah, kind of like, do you want to mention that, dude? I didn't even question like, where were you during Thanos?
Yeah, because I don't give it.
Also, like, did your people blip? Did you lose people too?
That's what I was gonna say. If he disappeared,
did they turn into mud?
Like, I'm assuming he didn't disappear because if he did, they would have apparently killed everyone on the planet.
But it's like, you know what, that did happen, and you're just like, no, we don't get involved in that, so we're not going up there. But I don't know. I feel like a giant head starting to merge from. I assume it comes out of the water.
Yeah, it's a hand and a head piece.
Again, I don't need it all to be mentioned, but it's like it's odd that you all wouldn't be like, hey, that's weird.
I will say there was a few. I think it was Anderson Cooper was the news guy on the TV screen. One of the taglines at the bottom is like current news. It was like Scott Lang's book is an all new bestseller. It was like the only thing I caught right off the bat. Like with those, I didn't see anything else.
Yeah, that's a nice little touch.
Yeah, so it's like because I guess Ant-Man is the next one. So with that at the end, they had no extra stinger scene, which is like I'm cool with.
I think it was I think it was a respect thing.
That was definitely the better choice. It's just still kind of odd though that the other one that we got that didn't have a stinger scene like that was Endgame and Spider-Man. Because technically Spider-Man just played the straight up trailer for Doctor Strange as its second stinger scene.
True.
So it's like that's twice. They've done that. That's also like a real.
But as I mentioned off air with you, I also felt like No Way Home was a little of Marvel and Sony going.
They're arguing.
In case this doesn't work, we wrapped all this up.
Yeah.
If
we can get rid of Spider-Man if we don't need him. It's just strange, literally strange. But
I said all the way through. It tells you Black Panther will return.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the movie without really diving super into it completely with like all the shot for shot, because the movie is very long. Like you said before, it's really hard to even think about things that they could have cut out.
It's more of a thing. Things need to be trimmed and compressed down.
Well, like when you talk about like the shot of like him getting like punched in the chest, it didn't need to be that long of a shot. It's like down to like just little things like that. They add up.
And while I appreciated not having this extra stinger scene, I was expecting a scene with Lady Contessa Valentina DeFontaine.
Yeah.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus' character.
So like maybe like a little bit or something.
I mean, we get Martin Freeman being broken out, which I really didn't need, but cool. I guess he's in Wakanda now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I wanted to see you build a little bit more of like, what is she like? I kind of know what she's doing, but like, show me more of her. I assume getting the Thunderbolts ready.
Yeah,
or just
now that I'm thinking about it, because you haven't watched the Miss Marvel show. There is like an entire thing going on in that show where there's like people tracking down superpowered people and trying to imprison them, and they're like an actual like government affiliated thing. And I wonder if it's the same deal as what she's leading. Like if it's just like an offset that they're gonna like.
I think she's the director of the CIA, but who knows what that means in the Marvel universe now?
Right,
because S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't exist.
Because these were like also like FBI agents doing this stuff. So I wonder if that has anything to do with anything.
I don't even imagine we've been shown her full extent of power. Again, the movie did a good job of playing where it's like when she gets out of the car when he's like his beads are going off.
Yeah,
and he fakes a phone call. was like, I feel like this character is smarter than that and wouldn't
Yeah,
just leave.
she absolutely
It turns out
was.
it's like, oh, you were. But again, it's fine that we didn't get it, but I did want more of that. And if you're not going to have expanded on that, then I do say cut all the Martin Freeman stuff out.
Yeah, I think, yeah, because really all he did was he got the location of where her beads like the last went off.
But to be honest, the earrings, and then he gave them the name of Riri.
Yeah,
Which you could have just had them find.
yeah,
You could have just had them show up and be like, well, I guess they figured it out. I mean,
yeah.
There's a bunch of other shit that people should know that they know in this world. So
yeah, that's I do feel like maybe his scenes could have been cut out. I do like him and stuff.
yeah, like I said, those are actually some of my favorite scenes.
It just felt like they were unneeded.
But I also think it's maybe because I wanted to see a different movie. I mean,
yeah.
like I want to see this story. I want to see like
Right.
the corruption that she's doing and what she's plotting and stuff.
Well, then with this, I guess you want to go and rate this one.
I'm going to give it a stream it. Maybe this doesn't matter. Most of you probably went and saw it
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
But if you haven't, one, we've ruined it. Not really. Did you think she wasn't going to, like, the trailer showed you who the Black Panther was.
It literally showed it was a woman. Like,
Technically, there's only 3 characters it could be.
it was also in the second trailer, though. If you saw any other movie recently, you non-consensually saw the trailer, so you would have saw it anyway.
But yeah, otherwise, it's a 45-day window. Wait a month and a half. It'll be on Disney
Yeah.
Plus. Settle in for an evening.
Like,
And take bathroom breaks. I'll give it this. For as long as it was, I never had to get up and go pee, and I drank an entire slushy.
yeah, that's fair. I will say for me, I do think streaming it is the best option. I like buying it if you really truly care about the Black Panther. I think it's worth buying it for just that.
And if you like the last one, then I want to say you'll love this one. I know that there's hate out there from like, oh, it's a woman. I don't want a woman.
Yeah, there's always going to be. I mean, you get the battle of the sexes, you get racism, you get race play.
15 minutes in, I was like, oh, the majority of the actual main cast of this story is all women.
And
the movie didn't really like. I don't feel like the promotional material made that a big deal. Which is how it should be. It shouldn't matter. Just like, these are our characters.
It actually it was at one point I was like, oh shit, I guess like all the other male characters kind of died in the last movie.
Except for M'Baku.
Yeah, which is also his character was very like screen present too. So it's not like Shuri is now the Black Panther and the Queen. Like literally, she gave away the crown to M'Baku. He's the king of Wakanda now.
And I kind of like that too.
Yeah, I see all these arguments and stuff, and I'm like, well, most of it's just like you want to just be pissed off on the internet. I truly feel like this movie did not push like trying to do more women power stuff while also showing genuine like characterization.
It did it the way that I think it should be done, which is simply make a good, strong character. It doesn't matter, and if it's played by a woman, that woman is a strong character. Ripley, Ellen Ripley from Alien, Sarah Connor from Terminator, those are just good, strong characters that had nothing to do with being a man or a woman.
Yeah.
So you also don't need to draw attention to it. Drawing attention to it means you're trying to do this, force this intentionally instead of just organically, like, I happen to write a story that has a bunch of strong women in it.
That's also my thing that I noticed. If you want to have a gay character or an LGBT character, make it matter. Don't make it 2 seconds so you can cut it out. And at the end, you see Okoye has a relationship with one of the other characters you saw earlier in the film.
Yeah, I noticed. I mean, I couldn't tell if it was a relationship, but there was just like the bond that they had, but I mean, they kiss.
By the end, it's
I also noticed like, oh man, that's super easy to cut out.
Yeah, it was so quick and so fast. It's like, and also it's like, she was married to a man. I guess technically she still is.
Again, doesn't matter.
Which is like, so you have an actual like real bisexual character here, and you made it so nothing that's like, man.
Your point is like, then why did you do it?
Yeah.
Just so you could say you did it?
Like bisexuality and pansexuality does not get represented in a lot of this stuff. It's always picking either a hard male, female kind of deal. So it's like, it's even more like sad that it's like, well, you can just cut that out really quick if you need to.
It did stand out. I mean, I did notice, and my immediate thought was, well, that's easy to cut out for China.
Yeah. What was the one main thing that you loved, the main thing that you hated?
Like I said, I mean, I love that they did just right off the bat, we're going to address the death and we're going to move on. And I love that I can tell this is a second script written on top of the original script. And it is very cohesive, not just for what you had to do, but it is actually cohesive. It's too much, but it's cohesive. I hated, I don't want to say that I hated this because honestly, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking maybe this, I wanted something from this that it wasn't ever going to be able to give me. Same like with Captain America and Winter Soldier is like, hey, you brought up all these political things that are interesting to deal with in this world post snap and everything else.
Right.
Of this universe that you create, like you've created a universe and I'm in for this universe storytelling. And I wanted, like I said, I wanted it more to be about these two nations really facing off with each other and realizing their ideologies, and we're kind of realizing like we're kind of shitty.
Yeah.
But also you guys are being shitty and we need to, I mean, sure he did say, it's like, we need to work this out peacefully. So we had one character do that. And then if you want to throw in the Marvel-y stuff, then expand on the DeFontaine character kind of manipulating this because she wants to get the vibranium. And it's like, if they fight each other, then I can go in and get it.
I mean, that's pretty fair. Like to just feel disappointed by like wanting more of that. For me, my absolute favorite part of the entire movie was that bridge fight scene. It just felt very intense, well choreographed, which is also like weird to say about a Marvel movie because a lot of it just looks like film nonsense sometimes. Yeah,
no, the first fight scene in the movie I felt was standard Marvel. It was like, yeah, you're doing slow motion stuff, but you're still cutting around all the time. I don't understand why you're doing that. So the freeway fight.
So then, like, especially with that character, just also like having like a badass hammerhead shark helmet, but also he's like actually using like real tactics where he's just like, I stab your spear in the ground, I'm gonna launch your fucking arm into it and hurt your entire body. It was like, Jesus Christ, like that's actually really intense. Where it's like, I don't know, Spider-Man gets punched, he gets back up, But
Okoye, the thing with Okoye too is she's not superhuman.
She's a regular person, which is like, that makes it even worse. That's why I thought, she actually would die right there. And so that's why I really enjoyed that entire segment. Like all of that was great for me. The thing that I hated was a line that was too over the top for me. And it was from our Ironheart, where the Nemorians are giving Shuri a dress. And she's like, don't take that shit. That's some supervillain shit. That's like Belle in Beauty and the Beast. That's like Leia in Star Wars. That's like whoever in Indiana Jones. It's like,
that's really like properties that Disney owns.
This is like Disney. It's like, shut the fuck up. And I really did not like that line. And it, like, I just think that little part could have been cut out. That was like the most, I guess, Marvel type humor that you could have gotten.
Do you think that that's also just some of your general cynicism? Because like, like, I know that they own these and I can say this. Because like Spider-Man makes references
and I also don't like it either.
He talks about Star Wars, but it kind of works with his character is like, you would like Star Wars. And you would think Aliens and The Empire Strikes Back.
It works for her movies. Too. I mean, she is absolutely a massive nerd too. I mean, her door was like, just to knock on the door, please solve this math equation. And also, I think she had like an X-wing plane Lego on her desk as well. But yeah, I think that was the most standout thing I didn't like. Say as far as ending Phase 4, this is probably the best thing you could have done for Phase 4. It's been an absolute sloppy mess.
Overall, this is probably the best of MCU Phase 4. But it is also indicative of how this phase can be described, which is unfocused and muddled.
That's I think that's the best way to put it. Because I really enjoyed the Spider-Man movie, but as you said before, it's hard to just say it's just Marvel, especially with the added characters from the other movies. Because it's like the entire movie was Willem Dafoe carrying it on his back, which is also a character that was written by someone else.
Right, that is going to be like a weird one. Like, yeah, it is part of Phase 4, but it's also, hell, the Spider-Man movies aren't on Disney Plus either, so it's not like, it's part of the MCU, but he's able to be shifted out of the MCU if they need to.
It's like, that's weird. But honestly, as far as all this goes, I don't think anything will be better than Morbius.
I was waiting for Shuri to say it was Morbin time.
Yeah.
And she never did.
Anyway, was there any standout lines that actually you liked?
Nope.
I like the way that M'Baku said, cool, cool, Khan.
Cool, Khan.
I really like the way he said that. That's a standout for me. But as far as like all of this movie goes, I think it was...
I like the way that DeFontaine said she dreams of having all that vibration.
You know, yeah, rolling her eyes in the back of her head and yelling, and then Kramer busts through the door.
I'm wondering how long Ant-Man and Quantumania is going to be.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. But get ready next month because Avatar is 3 hours and 10 minutes.
I mean, I expected it was going to be long. So how long was the very first one? The actual theatrical cut?
I think it's 7 minutes shorter.
Yeah, so there you go.
But yeah, this has been the Shallow Cinema with an appropriate water-themed movie. I have been Nemo.
I have been Blackjack Bauer. Not a fan of Black Panther, but if you like him, I think you're gonna love this.
Yeah, I honestly, it really was a good way to memorialize Chadwick Boseman as best as you could in a superhero comic book movie.
Yes. So again, yeah, hit us up on all the social medias and stuff. Let us know what you thought of the movie, thought of the review.
Yeah, you can send us an email at shallowcinemacast@gmail.com. And our Twitter is shallow_cinema. And if you want to look up us on YouTube, it's just also Shallow.
Are we verified on Twitter?
Do you want to be?
No, I don't want to pay him any money.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, let us know what you like, what you didn't like, so we can change things up or, not, because we're going to do what we want to do.
Yeah.
Promise never no red arrows or circles.
Yeah. Maybe something different, though.
But, yeah, we want to give you guys what you're looking for. So have a good time at the movies or at home. Let us know what you're watching, if we should check anything out.
And join us next time for Barbarian.